Two Florida police officers allegedly put their 3-year-old child in handcuffs and in a jail cell to punish him after the child had trouble with potty training. And one of them even admitted to putting their other child in jail as punishment as well. So here are the details. Daytona Beach Shores Lieutenant Michael Schoenbrod told a Department of Children and Families caseworker that his son was having difficulty with toilet training and was jailed on successive days in October. Now this is insane. It's a three-year-old. The officer's son was reportedly handcuffed the second time he was jailed. On body camera footage from a sheriff's deputy, Michael can be heard saying of the incident, quote, "He was crying. I was getting the response I expected from him." Now, Schoenbrod, who said his son vowed to never again poop his pants, co-parents the child with Deputy Sergeant Jessica Long of the Daytona Beach Shores Public Safety Department. Apparently, the cop has used this cruel tactic before. 9 years earlier, he said that he disciplined his 4-year-old son for hitting a girl at preschool. And let me give you the details on that. He said, quote, "I took him to the jail and he sat there and I watched him and he was crying and everything. And to this day, if you mention like that incident, he's just like, I would never do that again. It was effective, so that's why I did it with this," meaning the potty training incident. "He didn't hit anybody, but I figured the same thing, discipline, and he didn't want to go back, so." It's like,
no.
I mean, there are countless parents who potty train their children effectively without putting them in handcuffs and putting them in a jail cell.
Actually, almost all of them. Okay, so look, that is crazy traumatizing for a kid that age. He says, he was crying, I was getting the response I expected from him. Yeah, you put a 3.5-year-old in prison, you should expect that they're gonna cry their heads off and they're gonna be intensely traumatized. Now, his excuse for all this, and I get it, everybody grew up differently. And so, I remember when Adrian Peterson, the star running back in the NFL, was disciplined for hitting his kids with a switch, and he would take skin off their back, okay, when he hit them.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, "What do you mean? That's how we grew up, and so there's nothing wrong with that. That's culture, whatever, etc." Just because you grow up that way doesn't make it right.
Right.
And just because you think, "Oh, hey, he was potty trained, so it must have worked." Well, every kid gets potty trained at some point, so that is not very convincing. But even with the kid that hit the other girl and then he never did it again. Okay, here's another way you can get him to not do it again. That's also a terrible idea. Like, you know what? He hit the girl and I didn't like that, so I broke a couple of his fingers. And man, he cried like Dickens, but he never hit another girl again. Yeah, I'm not gonna call that mission accomplished. Maybe there are other pathways to that same result without being absurdly cruel.
So later on the hour-long body cam footage, Long, so that's the mother, could be heard calling the investigation insane, while Schoenbrod responded, "It's just disgusting that somebody would drag our family through the mud like this." Now, the investigation happened. Unfortunately, we don't know what the outcome of that investigation is because that has not been made public. According to the city clerk, the records can't be released because they've been sealed by a judge, but a court administrator denied that, saying the judge to whom the cases are assigned has not sealed them. An attorney with the county clerk of courts office wrote the cases are confidential due to motions for confidentiality filed within the cases. Look, the point is they're not making it public. So we don't know what the outcome of the investigation is, but you shouldn't be throwing your 3-year-old or your 4-year-old or any of your children in a jail cell because they're not complying with your parenting. Like, it's insane. You're traumatizing these kids.
Yeah, and look, I think the potty training is like such not a big deal that I can't believe they did this with that. But in terms of like, even if the kid did something wrong, look, I did terrible things when I was a kid, right? And my dad was right to punish me, and a couple of times he didn't really want to do it, but because of the way he grew up, he did beatings or whatever, but not really, right?
He didn't beat you.
No, what is it? What is it called? Spanking
yeah,
or whatever.
beating
right?
is severe.
I know beating sounds severe. No.
Yeah.
And so he didn't have his heart into it, etc. But that doesn't mean that I have to spank my kids just because it happened to me, right? And sometimes that worked, sometimes it didn't work with me at all. It made me go in the opposite direction. So, and this is a thing that is super common, maybe not at this extreme, but just because your parents did X doesn't mean you have to do it. Analyze what the upsides and the downsides are, and nothing's worth traumatizing your kids like this for. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.